Ponche Cuba, the original ponche, creamy and delicious anytime. So sensual.
Like us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/ramsupermarket. Follow us on Twitter, www.twitter.com/ramsupermarket. And subscribe to us on YouTube, www.youtube.com/ramsupermarket.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Good morning. Good morning to all our beautiful listeners. You're listening to Voices here on WINN FM 98.9. I am your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and we have a special lady joining us here today for another edition of Voices. We'll be talking about self-love and self-appreciation and showing appreciation to others. But first, you have to love yourself before you could love anyone else. That is something a coworker of mine said to me earlier. She said, you have to love yourself before you could love anybody else. And so that is what the conversation will be centered around today. And we will be welcoming your calls later on in the program to hear what you have to say and for you to be a part of the discussion. Again, good morning to our first time and the usual listeners. And thank you so much for choosing WINN FM 98.9 for another edition of Voices. Let us say thank you to our sponsors. And when we return, I'll have my guest introduce herself.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Your business needs superior copy and printing services, business equipment and furniture, and a wide array of renting materials for all occasions. TDC Business Center, providing solutions that work.
Good morning and welcome back to Voices. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. I have here with me Vikesh, my bad, Vikesh. No, and we're talking about self-love, self-appreciation. You know, love yourself before you can love anyone else. And this is the month of love. And also Black History.
Yeah.
But we're talking about love. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here with you again. I think this is such a great topic, a timely topic, simply because we talk about self-love, but we really practice it. We're often more focused on loving others, and we feel almost like self-love is something that's selfish. So we tend to feel guilty even for practicing self-love. But the truth is, if we don't practice self-love, then we are not at our best, and then we are not able to serve, at full capacity. So I think it's something that's so necessary that we talk about it. And I'm happy to be a part of the conversation.
And if I may add, you said something very interesting. Self-love. Some people think that when they love themselves or when they're told to love themselves, they're being selfish. Some people think that when they're being told to, come on, treat yourself to something nice, go out and spend time with yourself, take yourself out to dinner, and just spend time with yourself. They think that is you being selfish and just thinking about yourself. But sometimes I think it's good for your own mental health.
is necessary.
Yeah, and your whole mental well-being. And if you're listening and you're thinking about treating yourself to something nice this Valentine, if you're thinking about spending a little bit extra on yourself, take that meaningful risk.
And I think it's important to that, like we need to define self-love and what love is, because the problem is we have a misconstrued definition or understanding of what love is, and that's why we feel guilty, because we don't understand that self-love doesn't mean, loving doesn't mean giving so much of you that nothing is left, because you're no good to the people you're helping if all is gone. So it's necessary to define these things, or in our case, redefine them, because we've been, whether it's by circumstances or people in our lives, we've been told what it is. But as you grow, it's necessary that you redefine a lot of the things that you thought you knew before. Right. Because the relationship, how you see you and how you deal with you is going to influence how you deal with everybody else. So if you're not dealing good with you, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I like to say that this is, I know people would challenge that thought, but minimum you're going to find patterns in how you do a lot of things. So it's important that you start with you.
Great. Inoite, would you want to add to that?
Thank you for entertaining me. Thank you for being here. Sometimes
the entertainment is about
my goodness. Sometimes I feel like I'm Superman trying to just save everything, and so I actually was making a special delivery for my daughter at the school.
Yeah.
Because she was like, "Daddy, are you gonna be my Valentine?" I don't have like,
of course.
I don't have a Valentine. I was like, oh my gosh. And the teachers had said, you can send gifts. And I just completely forgot. So see me going to get flowers, going to get teddy bear, and then going to make a whole pizza for her and everything. And so all of that was in the oven while I was driving around, and then making you calling me while I'm at the school. I was like, I'm coming. So I'm here. Thank you for having me here. I don't know why you call me for self-love. You think I love myself?
I assume so.
You think I love myself? Okay. I'm always coming out of left field. All right. So the way I look at this, right? When you love someone, what do? What do you try to do when you love someone? You try to show it, and you also tend to pay attention to that person. You also try to get to know that person. You also try to get to know what makes them tick, what makes them happy, what makes them feel euphoric. You take all of that information and you apply it, and you go back and you keep trying, you keep trying to validate, you keep trying to prove, because you don't want that person to ever doubt whether you love them. Why can't you do the same for yourself? But that is exactly what it would take for you to actually love yourself. You understand? And a lot of times we have this misconstrued notion of self-love means, treating yourself. And that's part of it. But for me, right, I ask myself, how do I want to be loved? One of the things I want to be loved, one of the ways I feel loved is freedom. Feeling free to be myself.
Yes.
That is an underrated, big deal in these in this day and age. People keep thinking that, but that freedom of, I want to feel free to be myself. So that means that if you are at home and you are tired, you are tired. I mean, if your house is dirty because you're tired and overwhelmed, it's okay.
and be okay with it.
It's okay. Don't feel guilty. Somebody else can come around and say, "Boy, this place is messy," but they don't know why. But you know why, right? So don't go ahead and give yourself and beat yourself down, because you will not beat down the other person that you love for that purpose. So that's actually, I'm going through this now, understanding the value of, okay, to feel. It's okay to feel. It's okay to be down. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to feel low. but don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in a interpersonal relationship. How are you going to grow by dwelling on the things that bring pain?
Yeah.
Dwelling on the things that don't make you happy. You kind of have to do and be intentional about getting past them and making decisions to move past it. It's the same thing I'm doing for myself. So I'm like, hey, I don't like this about me. I am uncomfortable. I've reached a point where I'm uncomfortable with certain aspects or certain traits that I have, and so I have to grow. I can't be guilty. So that's my whole thing on self-love. I haven't reached a stage where I want to be treating myself, and that's it's going to come, right? But for now, it's like I can't really enjoy those things, knowing that all these other things that I am going to have to actually work on, and be. My word for the year is intentional. Be intentional about what it is that you feel. Be intentional about what it is that you're in pursuit of. Be intentional about what your goals are, and just go for it. So that's where I'm coming from.
I love.
Okay, but I have a question, Nute.
Go ahead, man.
One would say that you don't love yourself.
Right.
How do you define that someone does not? How do you know that someone does not love themselves? Because we established earlier that loving yourself is not just by treating yourself
Nope.
to
That's actually
best
just like
food
the
or-
icing on
Right.
the cake. The
Right.
bonus,
Right.
The
So-
after.
where does it
Yeah.
really begin? I know you said, being free.
Yeah. Understanding who you are and being in again. I go back to the same word, being intentional. When you want to, let me go back and drop some deep stuff, right? Listen here. Can you claim to love math if you don't understand it? How can you
Very
claim
true.
to love a subject if you don't understand it?
Let me just say I don't love math.
Exactly. So that's what. But if you understood math, you have a better chance of loving
Yeah,
it.
that is so true.
How can you love yourself if you don't understand who you are? How can you love someone else if you don't understand them? So I always tell people, don't love me. I don't want you to love me. Understand me. And let me tell you something. If you understand me, then loving me will come easy. And if you love me without understanding me,
Is it really love?
it's not even just that. I could be bad for you.
Yeah.
You can love candy. People love candy. But if you don't understand candy,
Yeah.
understand what it can do, pros and cons, you go and do your research on what works and whatever, it could be bad for you. It could kill you. And you tie that back to who you are. If you don't understand yourself, and how do you understand something? You pay attention. You listen. You read. You ask questions. You go to somebody else who understands that subject matter better than you. You go to the smartest kid in class and, okay, come and help me with my homework. Why aren't we this intentional about understanding who we are? Like I said, I'm speaking from experience because I'm going through this. So I would ask questions and challenge the way that I feel and say, no. I can be better and I know where I want to go. Right? So it's the same thing. So you ask a question, how do you know whether you love it? If you don't understand yourself and if you're not intentional about that journey towards understanding yourself, you cannot truly love yourself.
Great. What about you? How do you feel about that?
I agree 200% with everything that you see me shaking my head. Is not because the headphones heavy. It's because that's so true. I usually would talk about like growth, right? And it would always boil down to it begins with you. Like you have to be willing to sit with you. You have to be willing to search out everything that you're feeling. Why we don't do it is because it becomes uncomfortable and it challenges the easy flow that we tend to follow. It challenges that, and we tend not to want that challenge. We want to be excused for just being how we are, but in reality we're more than we are allowing ourselves to be. So I agree 200% with everything that he's saying. We need to, self-love is not just the treating yourself, that's the bonus after.
Yep.
Self-love is sitting down with you, looking at you, looking at your life, looking at the way different things make you feel, examining why do I feel this way when this happens, and connecting the dots, because usually they didn't just drop out the sky, because we're molded from a very young age. And we tend not to pay attention to the things that have molded us, whether it is, experiences in life that cause us to not think well of ourselves. You have to connect the dots. Well, maybe when you were younger, your friend, I remember, this is a perfect example, right? I am 5'3". I'm not a tall person. And I could remember clearly in primary school, one of my classmates said to me something about being big and stupid, because I was at that point taller than most of the people around me.
Right.
I guess I just went and bap stuff. But yeah, I was taller than them. So when she said big and stupid, it was like, oh my God, like it registered with me and it made me feel away.
Wow.
So over time, like I don't feel that way anymore, but
right.
that was something I had to like revisit, not just what she said to me, but things that you've been told, growing up and causing you to feel like less than you are. So self-love is going back. Self-love is examining, as he said, and being willing to do, not just because you could examining is one part. You could examine and still say, oh, but woe is me. But the love comes in the action where you, no, I want more for me. I know I can be more. So this is tough, but I'm going to work through it. I'm going to work through it because I think I deserve, to give myself the chance to be the best that I can be. So I agree. 300%.
And I agree as well. But if I may add, self-esteem, what you said, it probably happens every day. At work, school, play, church, you name it. And let's say you did not go back to examine yourself or think about what that person said. Then maybe no, you probably would have been trying to fix it. I mean, you know that you're perfect. And there's nothing wrong with you. There's there are no flaws. But your quote unquote friends or the people that you associate with would say, no, you don't fit into society. Go and fix yourself. And I think that's where people don't love themselves because they probably don't have good self-esteem, and so they probably listen to others, and then that's where they try to fit in and try to be seen as what they are not.
You said something that's I'm glad that you mentioned it, because we need to be so mindful of the people we listen to. We need to realize that the same way we have issues, the people walking around us have issues, and sometimes they're advising you from a not very grounded place. They haven't worked through stuff. So they're still probably unaware of the issues that they even have, but they're ready to tell you about you and what you need to do, which again, not saying, I do believe that, as scripture says, a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. So you must be mindful of who you listen to and the voices. Like your voice have to be the strongest voice in your head. Like what you feel, we tend to know our potential, because something gonna have us not feeling comfortable with settling, but settling easy. So it's about choosing whether we're gonna settle or we're gonna push through.
Right. If I may add too, when you think about this, whole self-love, showing appreciation to yourself, and I guess it's just to add to what you were saying. There are people who would want to advise you on certain matters, but as I like to say, communication feel the heat. And so sometimes if you're not in the position, you may not be in the best position to advise somebody on a particular topic or on a particular situation. And so you said it perfectly. Sometimes you have to be careful. Maybe not sometimes, but be careful on a whole.
Be very mindful.
as to who you listen to and who you allow to tell you what to do. Like, for example, if you lose a loved one, someone who has probably never experienced something like that will come and tell you, I understand and I know how it feels, but the reality is they don't.
They don't.
They don't. They have no clue.
I have a little story for that.
Go ahead.
I was at a store one day, and this lady, 3 ladies walked in, and one of them, she was looking sad, and apparently she was crying because she came to this store and she saw a lady with a baby, and it reminded her of the baby that she lost, so she started crying. And her friend could not, for the light of day, understand. She's still crying over that because I guess some time had passed, and she assumed that she should be over it. So imagine, and I mean, it wasn't even just that she said it; it was like the whole attitude towards the young lady, and I couldn't see it and not say anything. So I talked to her after the girl left. Like you don't know, and you can't tell her how she should heal or how fast she should get over it. Even if you don't understand, just be supportive. Even if you're gonna just be quiet, but not to have. Yeah, sometimes you don't need to say anything. It's okay to feel what you're feeling because you don't understand, but don't express it. Which is where to me love would come in and say, I don't know what she going on so far, but it's my friend and I got she back, so me just hush. You might roll your eyes in your head, but like she couldn't understand. So that's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Well, the way I deal with those kind of situations is to ask, how would you want me to support you?
True.
I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of times it could be at space or being present and silent. Sometimes that's the kind of support I want.
Yes. Yes.
Because you touching on the point with having that discerning mind to pick out what people are advising you on.
Yeah.
To be honest, people tend to come with advice from their own worldview, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the moment they start to get frustrated with you because you're not taking their advice, then that's when it's just because they can't really empathize with you and understand what you're going through. And at that point is take the gesture of them wanting to advise you as goodwill, and don't and then just take it as that. Not everybody will understand you, and actually most people will not understand you.
That's true.
And so that's why we have therapy. Self-love is
Sometimes
understanding when to go for therapy. Especially men. Men don't know or seem to think that therapy is cool, but I'm here to say therapy is cool and necessary. It doesn't mean that you're weak. In fact, recognizing when you are low takes strength. And
it does.
That's all, So that's part of my...
You touched on something, what should I call it? Very delicate or very
Go ahead.
touchy.
Bring it.
People in life, I think women are more, let me say, loving. You would always hear mothers or sisters or aunts say, I love you. But you never really hear it from the males.
You mean male to male?
or male to female or whatever. You would never hear them say, I love you, and basically express love and appreciation. And I think it's to do with the fact that they're going to feel less than. I mean, I love them.
They feel weak.
Yeah, I love you. I respect you. So I think it's a whole mind thing.
Quite often, persons like that usually have their own issue with loving who they are, which is why it's hard to tell you that they love you, because yeah, like I don't even know if I love myself, you know.
Right.
Sometimes the struggle is much deeper than we realizing. To me, the culture on a whole, we're not very open to showing love, expressing love. I don't know if it's for lack of knowing how to. In every case, for some, it's just a matter of comfort. It's uncomfortable. I could remember a boyfriend, you know, way back when I was younger, and I had never, at that point, I'd never say I love you to a male because it was like, who does that? Like, who does tell me that? Like, and I could remember the day, like, everything in me wanted to say it, and I think it got to the point where it was the desire to not let that person walk away without me saying it was greater than the discomfort I would feel to say it. So, like, I just had to let it out because I did feel that way about the person, but it was such a struggle because, like, it was not normal for me.
But you know, I think it's hard to say I love you, you know.
Because
whether it is to your husband, your wife, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, I think it's kind of hard to say. Because I can't recall ever telling my mommy and daddy, if you're listening, I can't recall ever telling them that I love them. But I love them.
Yeah.
And it may sound weird.
No, it doesn't. It's actually a lot more normal.
You could tell somebody you love them without telling them you love them.
But it's also very good to hear.
True.
It's also very good to hear. But you see, it goes back to, again, the way what's normal for us. Because you're not the only one like that. I'm the same way when it comes to family. Like, we didn't grow up with this. Like, I know mommy love me, my brothers love me, but we don't walk around like, morning, love you, see you, love you. You know, we don't do that. We don't do that. So it's normal. And I think it's important to become comfortable, though, because, like, for me with my daughters, it's a lot easier. Because for me, I didn't want them to not or to feel uncomfortable when it came to love. Now, the older one, her personality is different. So from an early age, it was like, no more, you had to stop kissing her when you take her to school after a certain age, you know, and it was like not too much mushy stuff, and she's still that way. But the little one now, she's still very, like, this morning, took her to school, kiss, love you, see you, you know, like making it normal, because it should be okay. It should be okay to freely express it.
What do you say about that?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I told my sister I love her. But she knows I do.
Right.
Look how after this, everybody gonna be expecting a I love you.
So, I don't know. For me, let's tie this back to what we're talking about and self-love and stuff. I recognize very early that, you know, love can and should be always be a verb. And so if actions speak louder than words, then I would rather go with what's louder. And there are some people who thrive on hearing those words, I love you. And there are others who just know, okay, that's in the bank. What's next? You know? So I'd say focus on, for me, like, actions. They speak a lot louder.
True, but it shouldn't be, we're not saying it because we're not comfortable. It should be that we're so busy doing it.
No,
you know?
There's part of it that's uncomfortable. Let's be real.
But that's the thing.
There's
like,
it
should be, we should be trying to get to the place where it's not that I don't want, uncomfortable telling you, but, like, we so busy living life and loving that if we miss to say it or if we don't say it, like, nobody uncomfortable if the time comes when it's time to say it.
Yeah, because it's like you show it every day
Yeah.
in all that you do.
Saying it without the actions mean nothing, you know.
Right. That's why I've never come at someone for saying upset or how come you didn't say you love me. No.
No.
I've never felt that way. You know.
Yeah.
So
I know. Because you basically you show it every day.
I'm more inclined to looking at your
The
actions and reconcile them with what the words are saying. So the words are primary. I mean, are really secondary to the actions. For me.
Right. Well, we've been talking for some time. I don't
Time
understand how
Yeah,
fast
time
the time
flies,
could,
man.
I
could
know.
go by. But we'll open the phone lines to hear from our listeners. And we have a call? Oh, I thought we had a first call. So the phone lines are open. You can call us at 466-0989, 762 and 662. And also we have a WhatsApp number, 662-2204. You can send a question, your comment, and be a part of the conversation. Let me just say thank you to all those who joined us via Facebook and the YouTube lives, as well as the website. We are going to continue our discussion up until 12, and hoping that we get at least one person to call and say I love you.
No, call to say I love me. This is about self-love.
right.
I love me so me. Somebody said I love me enough for both of us. You know.
But I think this is a very interesting conversation, and there's so much more that can be said, and so much more things that we can talk about. I mean, the time would not permit us, but very interesting, because now that we're having this conversation, it made me realize that I've never ever told anyone or any family member that I love them, but they know that I love them.
When they
in my
die, it comes
actions.
out. I'm serious. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
I love him so much.
No,
And
I wish I got the
see
more
that.
chances to say this.
Say it,
I
yeah,
know,
but
I know.
if you had 100 more years, you still wouldn't
Still won't say it.
Right. So you ask for more time when they're gone, but when they're here,
Right.
and you get the time, what do you do with it? What do you do with it?
You show love with actions.
I was about to say, well, be sure to be doing love, showing love.
Yeah, and I think that means more. Instead of telling someone that you love them and you don't do anything to prove that you love them, it's better for you to prove that you love them than for you to get up every
Just
morning
say
and
it
say,
empty. Yeah.
I love you. But we have a first call.
We had a call.
Yes.
Good morning, caller. You are live on Voices.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fine.
Morning.
No, I know my kids, they get tired of me telling that, because I do not end my conversation without telling them that I love them.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's nice.
Never, ever, ever, whether it's a text or on the phone. I always tell them I love them. I always tell my mom I love her when I talk. That's the last thing I said to her, because I'm in Miami and she's in Nevis. So I always tell my family members. That's the way I end my conversation, by telling them I love them. You never know when it's going to be the last time you talk
That
to
is
them.
That's true.
so true.
Can you tell them mid-conversation?
Well, if you tell them mid-conversation, you could do all that too. But I'm saying I always end it by saying that.
Right.
So, And I love myself, so.
Good.
I don't think... Listen, I'm telling you that they could call me stuck up or whatever, but I don't think nobody loves me more than me.
I like that.
I love it. And people
Y'all
get...
have a good day.
Thank you so much for your call. People get upset when people love themselves too much. You gotta love yourself. You gotta love yourself. Sometimes they say, "But you're boasting, you're full of yourself," but you gotta love
You
yourself.
feel good about you.
You
You
feel good.
about
You walk. You're proud and you're happy and you love yourself, and then hopefully you will love others, because there's just some people that just love themselves.
That's where you stop.
Sorry to say, they just love themselves and they love nobody else. But this is self-love, self-appreciation. You gotta love yourself first. Appreciate who you are first before you can go and try to love somebody else.
Definitely.
And when you love yourself, when you understand yourself, it's very, very easy to recognize when somebody does not love you.
That's true.
Quickly.
Yeah, that's so true.
And it's very easy to recognize when somebody does not understand you quickly. It's very easy to pick out the red flags quickly. Can't say that enough.
And when you love yourself, so you tend to start making better decisions. Better decisions because you're thinking about what's best for you rather than what feels good for you.
Say that again. Say it again.
No, but it's true. It's so true. Look, if you take even your diet, for example, right, which is something that a journey that I recently took. I'm not a vegetable person. I've never been a lover of vegetables. Give me bacon and pepperoni pizza with double extra bacon and no, you're laughing, but this is a true story. Wow. We went to Pizza Boys one afternoon after work and we were like, we want extra pepperoni and bacon. We couldn't even hold up the pizza. Like we had to hold up the pizza because when you took it up it would fall, right? It was delicious. Was it good for me? No. So guess what? I don't do that anymore. Not saying I might not, eat a pizza, a slice of pizza now and get as it was like a routine. So because I decided to take the journey to take care of me, it was like I'm getting older. I need to be healthy. I have work to do. I need to get it done. So I need to love me enough to say no to the extra bacon and pepperoni, So it helps you to make better decisions, and that's just a diet journey, but we're talking about in life in general. You make better decisions. No, he's not good for me. You see it early, so you decide early. Let me just leave. Let me just walk this way and leave it. You make.
But sometimes you see it. Sometimes you see it, and you put on your shades. And
you pretend it's orange and not red. Maybe if I wash it once, it might be pink. Maybe it's a hot pink, not red.
I don't know. I don't like onions, right? And anybody if I know an onion is coming, I am not. There's no amount of shades or blindness that I could put on that will allow me to ingest that particular thing that I don't like. Right, we have a call?
We have a call.
Yes! Caller number 2. Thank you. Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning again. Since nobody called, I'm going to call back in.
Thank
I want to
you.
say it's okay to tell not just girls, but tell boys that you love them.
That's true.
Okay, because sometimes we tell little girls, oh, yeah, I love you, but then the boys, we don't show the boys love. Like my grandson. I would tell my grandson, I love you, and then he would say, Grandma, I love you too much. Grandma. Because you got to tell them from young, show them love and tell them you love them. So, you got to show boys love too. So I just wanted to mention that.
That's true.
Thank you.
And the earlier we start, the better. So that they could then, carry it on to their kids.
If I may add while we have some time, sometimes you see some people walking around, they have the world on their shoulders.
Yeah.
And they're just angry with everybody and everything. You say good morning, and they're angry.
Yeah.
Like, who the hell are you to tell me good morning? Like, and maybe it's because they were growing up, they were told that I love you. And
I think quite often they're struggling with the self-love. So then they're making bad decisions. Then it's like a ripple effect. You make bad decisions because you don't love you. Then the bad decisions put you in a bad place and you're unhappy with it. And rather than fixing it, you tend to keep making more bad decisions and you get frustrated and you get upset with everybody because one thing you're not going to do is blame yourself. You're going to look for somebody to blame.
That is so true.
And in doing that, then you think the world is against you. You feel you're entitled for help from somebody because, well, ain't your fault, so somebody got to help me fix it, rather than making decisions that serve you and serve your growth.
That is accurate.
So
That is accurate.
We got a call?
Let's take this on.
Caller number 3.
Good morning. Good morning, your Life and Voices.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Cornelius, and to your guest in the studio.
Good
morning.
morning.
Can I shift the topic a bit?
Go
It
ahead.
might tie into what you're saying, but I just need to bring my views across. Can I?
Permission
sure,
granted.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. What I want to talk about is about what is happening on a global scale pertaining to movement and the coronavirus. Now, we know that 2019 was the year of return for, let's say, African people. And looking at what is taking place on a global scale pertaining to the virus, the way I see all this, it's like, okay, when I say they, I mean those who rule the world, so to speak. We know who they are. And they know that the countdown has begun, the countdown has ended in sense of 400 years of slavery. The year of return is for Africans to return back to the continent. So the way I see this, the pandemic was created, the virus was created to close down the borders to prevent people from moving. 2019, a group of African Americans in the diaspora returned to Ghana. And, to their surprise, they were so surprised to see what Ghana looked like compared to what we see on social media and in the news about Africa. So the countdown for me is like, okay, they know what is happening, they know our history, they know everything to the point. And my opinion, the coronavirus was created and looked at it from a global scale. The whole place was closed down, so people couldn't travel. Now, what is happening is this is our time now. And there again, however you want to interpret they're not going to hand over our time to us. So, I think we need to be so aware because it's a silent move that we're closing our eyes to it, but it's a dangerous happening that we need to be aware of and wake up to, because all that is happening right now, one race is on its countdown, and the other race, it's the beginning of a beginning, So I think we need to wake up to this thing and pay attention to the vaccine because, we don't know. Earlier in this week, a lady raised a point where she's saying that we don't know what we are getting. Who knows that what they are giving to themselves, is it a different thing to us? And I so agree with that because we don't know what is in these vials. We don't know what these vaccines are that they're putting into us. And a lot of people have their own interpretation. I saw something where Bill Gates is saying 2025 a new pandemic going to come out. People with money can do just about anything, realizing that their time is up and they're not going down without a fight. So I want to, we're talking about love and self and all that. I mean, I love myself at a very early age, and we grew up in an environment that we didn't tell each other I love you, and it was kind of hard or maybe awkward to say to your brother, your sister, I love you. And loving ourselves is the beginning, and we need to recognize also that we are the people now. The 21st century is our time. So I just want to bring that across. I don't know if you guys want to touch on it, but the pandemic is something that was in the making, and now it's there, and it's tying to the year of return, and now that the countdown has come to an end, and it's the beginning for a different race. But like I said, it's a long and deep journey ahead, and they're not going to hand it over to us. Everything is still in their hands. Technology, wealth, power. So that's my point for this morning. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for your input. Well, the time is basically over, so I'll just give each of my guests a minute to do their final remarks.
You want to go? Okay, I'll go first and let you, because Vikish is that
no,
quintessential.
No.
She just calms everything down. I'm the eccentric, crazy one. Listen, the word here, I said it earlier, is intentional. Be intentional, and pay attention. Mm-hmm. Understand yourself. Yes. And once you do those things, you will love yourself again. Mm-hmm. Done.
And if I could just touch a little bit on the caller, I know the topic is a little off, but then it's still, for me, my mind was bringing it back to what Inoite said, which is when you love yourself, you're more aware of what's happening around you. You can identify the things that aren't good for you, and you make better decisions. I can't touch on the topic, in depth because I have no knowledge of much of what he spoke about. But at minimum, you focus on you, and everything else would fall into place, including the decisions that you make.
Great.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs. The cost of care per hour, the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs. And make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
In our top stories, SKN launches End Child Labor 2021 and 19 students gain scholarships from Ross University. Regionally, Antigua and Barbuda government employees to work from home. And now the details of these and more. St Kitts and Nevis launched the International Year for the Elimination of Child Labor in the Americas Thursday under the theme #EndChildLabor 2021. The International Labour Organization deems the campaign necessary given the persistent child labor practices in some Caribbean and Latin American countries. Minister of Labour Wendy Phipps has stated that child labor practices are non-existent in St Kitts and Nevis, but the Federation was obligated to do its part in spreading the message that child labor is fundamentally wrong and should be brought to an end. Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine awards 19 scholarships to students attending CFPC and the Nevis 6th Farm College. 19 students, 17 from St Kitts and 2 from Nevis, are awarded scholarships for the academic year 2020 to 2021. The students are from the Clarence Fitzroy Brand College on St Kitts and the Nevis Sixth Form College. Ross University established the Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine Scholarships Awards program 4 years ago. It awards deserving students who have difficulties attending the Clarence Fitzroy Brand College or the Nevis Sixth Form College. The scholarship program provides financial support for up to 2 years of tuition books and other fees, a stipend towards uniform and transportation, and 6 weeks of a paid internship at the Ross University. So far, 54 students have benefited from the scholarships offered by Ross University.
St Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, and St Vincent and the Grenadines were scheduled to receive vaccines from Dominica on Thursday, February 11th, according to the Prime Minister of St Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves.
What is happening is that the Prime Minister of Dominica told me that in keeping with our resolve within the Caribbean community, that whatever little we have, we will share with one another. And we are getting some from Dominica, I think it's this afternoon. I think some are going to St. Kitts and Antigua and Barbuda from Dominica. In Barbados, what they got, they're sending some to Guyana, to Trinidad, and I think Grenada and St. Lucia.
Speaking in St. Vincent Thursday morning, Dr. Gonsalves reported that OECS leaders were also scheduled to meet Thursday at 5 p.m.
I know that the OECS heads of government, the OECS ministers of health and the OECS commissioners had to have a meeting, I believe at 5 today, to put all the relevant, to coordinate all the relevant arrangements, because the government of India is providing more vaccines in the case of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Caribbean leaders have agreed to share vaccines sourced from India and other countries as governments push to achieve herd immunity among their populations. These efforts aim to complement access to the COVAX facility, which has promised to deliver, in the case of St. Kitts and Nevis, over 21,000 vaccines within weeks. Thursday afternoon, ABS television reported the arrival of 5,000 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine in Antigua and Barbuda on an RSS flight from Dominica. The report added that vaccines were also being delivered to St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, courtesy of Dominica. The Antigua and Barbuda Observer newspaper is also reporting that 80,000 vaccines are expected to be administered in the coming weeks in that country. On St. Kitts and Nevis, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws on Wednesday, February 10th, addressed the issue of access to vaccines through the COVAX facility.
And so we keep sharing repeatedly that the Federation has signed on to the COVAX facility, which is a global mechanism. It's developed to help participating member states gain access to the COVID-19 vaccines. And so I think almost all CARICOM member states have signed on to this global mechanism. And so towards the end of January, the Federation received a very promising letter from the office of the COVAX facility, providing us good information regarding the first tranche of the assigned COVID-19 vaccines to satisfy the COVAX's agreement with the Federation. And so we were informed that we would be allocated a number of doses of the AstraZeneca and Oxford vaccine. Our allocation amounts to about 21,600 doses, and so this amount will provide coverage for approximately 20% of our population.
Dr. Laws also mentioned that the Federation was seeking to source vaccines now.
The Federation is seeking access to COVID-19 vaccines through two other mechanisms. And so we are not putting all our eggs in one basket. We are trying through all possible avenues to access COVID-19 vaccines. Access to the COVID-19 vaccine is crucial to curbing the spread of COVID-19 infections and restarting our economy and economies in the region and globally.
The individual described as breaching quarantine, resulting in public alarm and the contact tracing for more than 20 people, will not face criminal charges. That's according to Medical Chief of Staff Dr. Cameron Wilkinson.
And I don't think that there is going to be any criminal charges that will be brought against these persons. As I said, it was a breach. Sometimes breaches can come because of misjudgment, etc., and not necessarily any direct criminal intent.
Dr. Cameron Wilkinson speaking at Tuesday's National Emergency Operations Center briefing. The individual guilty of the breach was not named. During the February 3rd National Emergency Operations Center briefing, Superintendent Cromwell Henry had informed the public that the matter was under investigation and officials would ascertain if any criminal charges would be filed against the individual.
As it relates to the specific case that you're speaking about, yes, there was a breach, the details of which I cannot go into. The persons, however, did not travel on a passenger bus. They traveled on a vehicle, but it's not a passenger bus where other passengers would have been in the bus to create exposure. And I can reassure the public that everyone who came into possible contact, they were identified and quarantined, and so we did the necessary contact tracing.
As to what mode of transportation was used by the individual, which remains unclear at newstime Thursday, February 11th, officials have declared that the vehicle earlier described as a public service vehicle was not a passenger bus, but offered no further information to the public. The Organization of Eastern Caribbean States is announcing by press release Thursday, February 11th, that regional ministers of education have agreed to develop a new OECS harmonized curriculum that will focus on skills and concepts of tomorrow that children need today. The 6th annual meeting of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Council of Ministers Education was convened on February 4th and 5th, 2021 under the theme Sustainable Education, Collaborative Policies and Practices for the Future, and hosted by the St. Lucia Ministry of Education, according to the press release. The virtual council meeting was chaired by St. Kitts and Nevis Minister of Education Janelle Powell and included education officials, regional agencies, and development partners. Key decisions from that meeting include: 1. Renew and strengthen efforts to align education in the region through a regional education group that will help guide the education development of the OECS. The regional education group will comprise representatives from ministries of education, regional and international partner agencies, and civil society organizations. 2. New OECS harmonized primary curriculum to commence later this year with anticipated funding from the Global Partnership for Education. 3. Leverage economies of scale to produce goods and services for digital transformation initiatives in the sector. 4. Engage industry leaders to provide realistic pathways for student innovation and next generation careers. Finally, 5. Commission a regional committee to establish a mechanism to support the capturing of real-time data in the OECS.
In news from Antigua and Barbuda, permanent secretaries have been charged with implementing measures that will minimize the risk of COVID-19 infection among workers in the various government offices and departments. As such, the administrative heads of government ministries have been tasked by Cabinet to work out practical modalities for human resource deployment between those who can work and should be made to work from home. But even among staff who continue to function from the workplace, there will also be a strong focus on keeping personnel from different units as separate and isolated as possible from other sections. This was announced on Wednesday evening by Information Minister Melford Nicholas during the weekly post-cabinet press briefing. He said the permanent secretaries would be briefed by the cabinet secretary and the establishment division. After confirming that the Jolly Beach Resort has been commissioned as a state quarantine facility, Nicholas said all returning nationals would be fitted with the recently acquired electronic tracking bracelets, regardless of whether they are quarantining at home or at a public quarantine center such as Jolly Beach or other designated facilities. He took the opportunity to clarify that the National Isolation Facility would be housed at the former U.S. Air Force compound. People are placed in quarantine for 14 days when their infection status is unknown and test results are being awaited, as this is the time within which symptoms of infection manifest or can be detected.
Soldier Alfred, HTS News Force.
We are a society that is terrorizing our women. And that must stop. That must stop. And I do not know, there are a lot of women here, or there are a number of women here. And I am not one of you, but I'm sure you feel it. I'm sure you feel it.
Former chair of Rise St. Lucia, Dr. Stephen King, is tackling the issue of gender-based and domestic violence. 2 women were killed in St. Lucia in the month of January 2021. Lucienne Monlouis was found dead at her Tiroche residence with apparent marks of violence about her body. The other victim is a young female whose badly maimed body was discovered at the Pigeon Island Causeway and has yet to be officially identified through forensic tests despite possible circumstantial evidence.
I remember Stephanie just recently, Andrea down in Trinidad, Giselle, Trisha, Donna, Valerie, Yana, our women. I remember these women, young women, killed by a society, I want to say, we say by a perpetrator. Who is the perpetrator? The silent conspirators who see what is wrong in the society, know what has to be done to nurture people properly, the marginalized people that we label and discard or ignore and do not put what is right in place, therefore perpetuating the dysfunction, the violence, etc. in the society.
According to the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, quote, in many countries affected by COVID-19, records from helplines, police forces, and other service providers indicates an increase in reported cases of domestic violence, in particular, child maltreatment and intimate partner violence against women, unquote.
Now, when a young woman has to be told she can't dress like that, she cannot show her beauty, where she can be admired without being denigrated or fondled, assaulted. You understand? She cannot walk at night safely. She has to have pepper spray or a scissors or a knife. When the music that they have to play has to tell her how vulgar the things that should be done to her are. You understand? That is a problem.
The co-founder of Safe Spaces is not just waxing philosophical, but in an impassioned plea is advocating for a fundamental societal change in culture. Dr. King has some answers on what St. Lucians can do to make certain the island is a safer place for all.
If every single St. Lucian fixed every corner that they live in and made it safe, that's what Safe Spaces is all about. If every St. Lucian did that, we would have the kind of society that we could all be comfortable with. So our sons and daughters, my daughters, could walk the streets any time of night without fear.
Children, women, and older people are at higher risk of domestic abuse, especially during this period of restricted movement. However, The scale of brutality in St. Lucia, activists argue, goes beyond the pressures of the pandemic, with a history replete with countless examples of lives lost and justice delayed and denied. Advocates continue to exhort public officials to strengthen institutions, rid the system of dysfunction, and work to ensure a legal and regulatory framework with proper oversight to better protect victims, preempt tragic endings, and land convictions in court.
In news from Antigua and Barbuda, permanent secretaries have been charged with implementing measures that will minimize the risk of COVID-19 infection among workers in the various government offices and departments. As such, the administrative heads of government ministries have been tasked by Cabinet to work out practical modalities for human resource deployment between those who can work and should be made to work from home. But even among staff who continue to function from the workplace, there will also be a strong focus on keeping personnel from different units as separate and isolated as possible from other sections. This was announced on Wednesday evening by Information Minister Melford Nicholas during the weekly post-cabinet press briefing. He said the permanent secretaries would be briefed by the cabinet secretary and the establishment division. After confirming that the Jolly Beach Resort has been commissioned as a state quarantine facility, Nicholas said all returning nationals would be fitted with the recently acquired electronic tracking bracelets, regardless of whether they are quarantining at home or at a public quarantine center such as Jolly Beach or other designated facilities. He took the opportunity to clarify that the National Isolation Facility would be housed at the former U.S. Air Force compound. People are placed in quarantine for 14 days when their infection status is unknown and test results are being awaited, as this is the time within which symptoms of infection manifest or can be detected.
Live from NPR News, I'm Corva Coleman. Former President Donald Trump's defense attorneys begin making their case today at his Senate impeachment trial. House managers wrapped up their arguments yesterday. NPR's Windsor Johnston says they blame Trump for inciting insurrection at the U.S. Capitol last month and doing nothing to stop it.
House impeachment managers have made their case that the attack on the Capitol was premeditated and that Trump was directly responsible for inciting the breach. They also argue that unless he's convicted, Trump could incite violence again. Defense attorneys are expected to argue that Trump's comments to his supporters on January 6th are protected under the First Amendment. The Senate has already rejected their claim that the trial itself is unconstitutional.
NPR's Windsor Johnston reporting. President Biden plans to allow migrants who are waiting at the Mexican border to return to the United States and apply for asylum. NPR's Franco Ordonez reports on Biden's latest moves to reverse the Trump administration policy known as Remain in Mexico.
Biden administration officials announced that the U.S. government will begin processing an estimated 25,000 people who have active asylum cases and are now waiting in Mexico. Former President Trump instituted a policy that forced migrants attempting to cross the southern border to apply for asylum in Mexico. Biden officials said they have been working with the Mexican government and international organizations on a way to help the most vulnerable impacted. They anticipate being able to process as many as 300 individuals a day at 2 ports of entry. The administration insists, however, that those who are not part of the program should not assume that they can come to the border and be part of the process. Franco Ordonez, NPR News.
President Biden will meet a bipartisan group of governors and mayors today at the White House. They'll discuss his nearly $2 trillion coronavirus relief package. In Myanmar, tens of thousands of protesters continue to demonstrate against the military coup earlier this month. The UN says hundreds of people have been arrested by the military junta. Michael Sullivan reports from neighboring Thailand.
The UN Human Rights Office says government officials, Buddhist monks, and activists are among those detained. Even as hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets all over the country, the biggest demonstrations yet against the military. Hundreds of doctors in white coats and scrubs were among those who marched in Myanmar's biggest city, Yangon. Rubber bullets were used against demonstrators in the southeast of the country, with several demonstrators wounded. Coup leader Senior General Min Aung Hlaing used the Union Day holiday to issue a plea for national unity, urging people to work with the military for the, quote, successful realization of democracy. For NPR News, I'm Michael Sullivan in Chiang Rai.
The UK's economy has recorded its biggest annual contraction in more than 300 years, driven largely by the impact of the coronavirus. Its GDP shrank nearly 10% in 2020. It's the largest decline among G7 countries. It did, however, grow 1% at the end of the year, which means that Britain averted a so-called double-dip recession. Well, there are concerns in the UK about why fewer black and minority healthcare workers are getting the vaccine compared to their colleagues. At some British hospitals, only a quarter of black staff members have got the jab. Neve Barker reports from London.
There's something wrong with Britain's vaccine rollout. The country's way ahead of the rest of Europe, but vaccine hesitancy could derail government plans to give every adult in the country a dose by September. The hesitancy is down racial lines. In a country where black women are 5 times more likely to die during pregnancy, and COVID death rates for most ethnic minorities are higher compared to white people. Long-standing health inequalities, say leading doctors, have eroded confidence in the vaccine. In a recent survey, 72% of black respondents said they were unlikely to have the jab, despite being most at risk of dying from the disease. And according to one study, a fifth of all care home staff and many workers in the country's National Health Service, the NHS, are choosing not to be vaccinated.
1.4 million people work in the NHS. They are part of our society, and what happens in the wider social world is bound to be reflected within the NHS workforce. Now, what we do not want is for that fake news or that misinformation to take the lives of individuals due to a potential lack of understanding of the facts.
This is the hospital where the Prime Minister Boris Johnson was treated when he contracted coronavirus. The hospital trust told us that overall 80% of staff have been vaccinated, from surgeons to secretaries, but only a quarter of black African and black Caribbean staff have, and even fewer staff from Filipino backgrounds.
A vaccine scandal that plagued the Philippines for years has had a negative impact on uptake here. Developed by a French company, Dengvaxio was proven to dramatically reduce severe dengue fever, but had to be relabeled after it was found it could cause more severe illness in children who hadn't already had the disease. Even though none of the 30,000 children in the clinical trial were affected, and the vaccine still worked well, the damage has been done, affecting the use of a whole range of proven treatments.
I look after international nurses, and the ones that are coming are the younger generation. The children that were given injection could be relatives of the nurses who we have now, or people that they already know, or, and that scares them.
A vaccine centre in a Birmingham mosque. The government says it can't force people to have the jab, but what it can do is tackle some of the myths surrounding the vaccine, including that it contains pork or can alter people's DNA, and that means reaching out to different communities, reshaping the narrative to help people make the right decision. Neve Barker, Al Jazeera, London.
Amir Khan is...
And in sports news, in the West Indies and Bangladesh game at Stumps, Bangladesh 105 for 4, Rahim on 27, Mutam on 6, Gabriel 2 for 31. West Indies were 4-9 all out, De Silva 92, Bono 90, Joseph 82, Jayad 4 for 75. Bangladesh trailed by 304 runs. And over in Antigua and Barbuda, Trinidad and Tobago versus Jamaica, Trinidad won by 5 wickets with 54 balls remaining. Brandon King top scored with 97 for Jamaica, and Evan Lewis top scored with 107 for Trinidad and Tobago.
That was the WINN FM Headline News. The Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
Ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers are making lawn and garden easy. Come to Horseroads Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on our entire lawn and garden department. Yes! For the months of February and March, Horseroads Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy with 25% off all garden supplies, garden equipment, garden accessories, including weed eaters, lawnmowers, and much more. Get 25% off all lawn and garden items. Happening now at Horseroads Building Center in St Kitts and Nevis. Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers, making home improvement easy.
Hi there, very good afternoon to you. Time to welcome you to Voices on WINN FM 98.9, just 22 minutes now before 1 o'clock. Thanks so much for being available today to be a part of our programming on WINN FM, www.winnfm.com or WINNmediaskn.com. I'm your host for the second part of the program for today. My name is Clive Backus. I'll be with you until 1:30. As we continue to celebrate Black History Month, a month where we give thanks and praise for those who came before us, those who are still among us, and those, of course, who continue to inspire. And today we hope to be speaking to a gentleman from Nevis who's asked me to give him a couple of minutes, and he'll be ready to have a conversation with me about what's been happening on Nevis in terms of the Black History Month activities and cultural development. So that's going to be the conversation on our program for some part of the second half of Voices today. Let's say good afternoon to our proud sponsors, Flo and SL Horsewood and Company Limited.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Power up in February at Horsewood's Value Mart IGA. Yes! In February, we are giving you 3 ways to power up. 1. Power up for your Value Club points in February. Yes! For the first time ever, every Value Club customer will earn double point on all Value Club purchases at Value Mart in St Kitts and Nevis. 2. Power up in our Power Play where lucky customers will win their purchase free. Just listen out for the Power Play alert, and if you are at the Mystery Power Register of the day, you win your purchase absolutely free with double points and more. 3. Power up your saving with the Horsewood's Value Mart Red Tag Value Deal. Yes! Power up with the savings with huge discount on select Value Deals items. Power up your points. Power up your saving. Win your purchase free in our Power Play. Power up February at Horsewood's Value Mart IGA. Don't miss it.
Terms and conditions apply. Yes, indeed. Good afternoon to you once again. We want to say a very good afternoon to a gentleman by the name of Antonio Abernathy Library. You may not have heard about him, but he's been the executive director of the Nevis Cultural Secretariat for almost, I don't know how many decades. I'm going to have to ask Trent Sargent, but we'll get back to that in just a moment. Let me say good afternoon to Abu. Abu, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Clive. Good afternoon to all your listeners. In your introduction, you said you don't know how many decades, but it's actually 2 decades. 2.2 decades. Actually, 22 years that I've been the executive director of Culture. That's really a very long run, Clive.
Well, a long and excellent run as far as I'm concerned. I know I like to make fun. I like to have a good laugh, but the respect is there. And I called you today because I really want to talk to you about you. We want to be able to say to our listeners that we have lots of respect and love for you as the director of Culturama for the things that you've done over the years. And basically this program, this segment of the program, is to basically honor you, talk to you about your journey. And, of course, we're going to ask you a few questions about the development of history and culture in Nevis as well. So we want to say thank you very much for taking our call this afternoon. Now, to those listeners who, and I had an introduction that said you may not know who he is because I was being tongue-in-cheek. Everybody knows who Antonio Abernathy Liebert is, or they think they do. But I thought today we're going to start with you and give you an opportunity to tell us who you are in the context of, I think you're from Charlestown, are you?
No, I'm actually from Gingerland, Matchmas Road, Gingerland. I'm the son of former head teacher, Joycelyn Liebert. In fact, the Gingerland Primary School, I think in 2008, was renamed in honor of my mother because she would have served there for many years as the principal. And so the school there now is now the Joycelyn Liebert Primary School. That's the school in Gingerland. And for those who know Market Shop, my late father of blessed memory, Egbert Charles Brown Liebert, would have operated a grocery store right on the corner of Market Shop for some 44 years. And so I am the offspring of Egbert Charles Brown Liebert and Joycelyn Liebert. I would have attended the Gingerland Infant School, later the Gingerland Junior School, and then I would have moved on in 1975 to the Gingerland Secondary School, and then to the Charlestown Sixth Form. In fact, I was among the first batch of students that would have attended the Charlestown Sixth Form, or the Nevis Sixth Form, when that Sixth Form was opened in 1980. And so upon leaving school, I taught agricultural science at the Gingerland Secondary School, then went off to Trinidad, did some studies in the area of agronomy, agricultural science, and then returned and continued my tenure at the Gingerland Secondary School. And then in 1998, in fact, after spending some 16 years at the Gingerland Secondary School, where I would have taught agriculture primarily, but I would have also tutored students at the CXC level in human and social biology and also biology. And then I would have been attached to the Culturama Secretariat. We have been for the last 22 years. And prior to moving to the Secretariat, I entered the Culturama Calypso Senior Monarch Competition in 1992, 1993, and 1994. Of those 3 years, my highest position was first runner-up in 1993 when I was defeated by King Bingi. In that competition, I would have done 2 songs, Is Aid This Country Want and Not AIDS, and I would have also paid tribute to the Steel Pan in my other song. So in a nutshell, that is Abernathy.
Now, what was your Calypso name, if you like?
My Calypso name was Abernathy, and Abernathy came from when I attended the Gingerland Secondary School. I would have been in either second or third form, and I was asked to perform on a talent show. I think that was organized by the manager of now One Radio, Everett Weber Herbert. And I recall up to the point when I was about to go on stage, I did not have a stage name. And the teacher at the school, one Charles Django Busu, he was the MC. And he saw me passing by, and he said, at that time, my household name was Tony. He said, Tony, what is your stage name? And without thinking, I said, Abernathy, because Abernathy is a name of a former junior Calypso monarch of Montserrat, who is actually a relative of mine. And so, having gone to Mountstrat in the 70s and would have heard the name Abernathy, I would have stayed with the family and heard the name. I decided at that very moment, I'm going to steal that name. And so ever since that, 1970, it could have been 1978 or somewhere around there, I've adopted that name, Abernathy.
Abernathy, Antonio Abernathy Liebert. That's the man we're talking to today on Voices, the second segment of the program. We're talking to him because we're honoring him on today's edition of Voices, the second segment, as one of the stalwarts in terms of the preservation of the culture and heritage and history of the Federation, in particular Nevis. Now, there was some thinking before the Culturama Secretariat would have been established, and what was happening in Nevis prior to the establishment, and what may have driven people to say, you know what, we need to have a secretariat.
Well, let me take you back a little bit to the history of Culturama. In 1974, the Nevis Dramatic and Cultural Society, NEDAX, at a meeting of the society in February, they were discussing that the cultural traditions, the Christmas sports in Nevis was slowly becoming extinct, and that there was need to organize a festival that would highlight the cultural heritage of Nevis. And so Culturama came into being later in that year, in July, August of 1974. The meeting was in February of 1974. And then NEDAX would have carried that festival right up until, well, a few years, can't recall. And then a committee headed by Eustace Hunkins, and you had people like Irma Johnson, and these were former members of NEDAX. They would have taken over organizing the Culturama, and they took it up until 1989, and then the Nevis Island administration in 1990 decided to nationalize the festival because it was becoming more and more expensive for a private group, a private entity to organize the festival. And so government wanted to have some financial inputs and some say in the festival. And so in 1990 it was nationalized. And then in 1993, I think, the Department of Culture was established. We had the first director of culture, Halstead Suti Byron, who served in that capacity. And then in 1993, also, Suti became the chairman of Culturama, and they wanted to somehow move the organization of the Culturama Festival from under the Department of Culture somewhat. And so in 1998, they created a separate entity, but still under the umbrella of the Department of Culture, the Culturama Secretariat, and I was asked to come out of teaching and be in charge of the Culturama Secretariat. And so I've been there since, and, they wanted to kind of move the festival forward, and so in 1999, we were celebrating the 25th anniversary of Culturama, and they wanted to somewhat broaden the calendar, introduce some new events. And so when I came in, I introduced the International Artist Show, and there were some other new initiatives that I would have introduced. And gradually, as we went along, we added some other shows. In 2000, I think we added the Mr. Cool. We separated the swimwear contest from the Miss Culture Queen pageant. And in recent times, we have added the Wet Fest. We have added several other entities that, make the festival more diverse and one that would encompass all age groups, the young and the old. And so, in a nutshell, that is a brief synopsis of the Culturama and how I got involved and how I still am involved. I actually want to hand it over to somebody else, but the problem that I'm encountering, many persons who have approached, who have asked could you come along? Could you understudy me? They are saying, boy, Abo, it's a lot of work. The things that I see you do and go through during Culturama, I don't think that I have that to be, taking out all that work. And so I'm still there. I'm due to retire next year September on my birthday, and I'm hoping that by that time that the administration would have someone in place before to understudy me so that I can have a smooth transition from and going into my retirement after it will have been from probably 23 years of the festival.
Oh, you're still a very young man. I don't know. I mean, the president of the United States of America is 78. Anyway, that's another story. That's another story. But in terms of Culturama, though, has it achieved its objectives as far as you're concerned? Where would you point to as the strengths of Culturama, and what would you say are some of the challenges that you would like to see addressed in the coming years?
Okay, so let us get back to the 1974 committee. One of the major objectives of the 1974 committee that was established under NEDAC was to build a cultural center, was to have the festival, raise funds to build a cultural center. That was achieved in 1983 when the Culturama complex was built. Actually, in 1983, there was no Culturama because the nation of St Kitts and Nevis achieved its independence in 1983. And incidentally, the Culturama complex, or the cultural complex, was the hub for many of the independence activities. So it came in, the cultural complex came in just in time for the celebration of the nation's attainment of independence. And so at least that one objective of building somewhere to host the Culturama Festival, a place where the culture and the heritage of Nevis would be showcased, that objective was achieved in terms of the objectives set out by the Nevis Dramatic and Cultural Society. With the coming of the Department of Culture and working closely with the Culturama Secretariat, the preservation of the cultural heritage of Nevis, it has contributed, because we still have many of the cultural traditions, the practices still displayed. So the Culturama, we have the masquerades, we have the clowns, we have the string bands, and those things still continue to be a part of the cultural heritage of Nevis, still continue to be on the calendar for Culturama activities. Now, you spoke about the challenges, and it's very challenging to get people to volunteer their services for Culturama Festival. And that is something we have been trying to work on over the years to develop a sense of volunteerism in people, for them to come and volunteer their services for Culturama. Now, we know that everything now globally is about business. And so, lots of businesses have sprung up that would offer services to service providers for Culturama, but there's still a need for persons to give voluntarily to the festival to ensure the sustenance and continuity of the festival. So that over the years has been one of my major challenges to get persons to volunteer their services. Many persons, we have moved from the days when we used to ask the cultural practitioners to perform for free. I am one of those persons who feel that the cultural practitioners, especially those who are around for many years, like a Joseph Jogger Brandy, those guys gave of their service willingly to Culturama and to the development of culture on Nevis over the years. And I think that the time has come, payday has come for them. And so those guys, we need to pay them for their services. And so we are not we are not asking everyone to volunteer their services, but the cultural practitioners, I think that those persons, we ought to now move to a place where we pay them and honor them for their sterling contribution in terms of preserving the cultural landscape of the island.
We listen to WINN FM 90.9. We're speaking to Mr. Antonio Abernathy Library. Mr. Library, stay on the line for a minute. We're going to hear from our partners. We're going to come right back. I'm going to ask you about how you go about transferring skills that perhaps were from one generation onto the next, like the string band. We'll talk a little bit about that when we come back, but let's hear from our partners, SL Horswood and Flo.
Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers are making lawn and garden easy. Come to Horseroads Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on our entire lawn and garden department. Yes! For the months of February and March, Horseroads Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy with 25% off all garden supplies, garden equipment, garden accessories, including weed eaters, lawnmowers, and much more. Get 25% off all lawn and garden items happening now at Horseroads Building Center in St Kitts and Nevis. Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers, making home improvement easy.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Yes, indeed. The Truth of WINN FM is 90.9. We're speaking to Mr. Antonio Abernathy Library. And Mr. Library, we're back with you. You're live on radio again. How do you go about achieving enthusiasm, for want of a better term, and a desire to learn some of the instruments, some of the skill sets of the older generation?
Okay, so in 1993, as we go back to 1993, the Department of Culture was established. And one of the aims of the Department of Culture was really to document the cultural traditions. So you find that officers from the Department of Culture used to go to these cultural practitioners, people like Georgina Annie Mills, and we used to have interviews with them, record them, come back to the office and, document those so that, when they would have passed on, we would have the knowledge and the skills documented that we can teach. Now, over the years, the Department of Culture, the officers would go into the schools to teach masquerades, to teach blue ribbon, plaiting of the ribbon, maypole dancing, to teach clowns, teach fife playing, string band, and more recently, with the coming of the Nevis Cultural Development Foundation, they have now broadened the skill sets of Nevisians. They are now teaching steel pan in our schools. And in fact, I attended a meeting a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, and it was heartwarming to hear that there are in excess of 10 steel pan groups on Nevis. And just recently for Sugar Mass 49, there was a competition, a steel band competition on St Kitts, and of the 7 participating steel bands, 5 of them were from Nevis. So it means that the Department of Culture is transitioned into the NCDF now. They are doing an excellent job in terms of keeping the cultural heritage, keeping the culture of Nevis alive. And so, if we are going to look at their success story, yes, they have enabled the skill set to be passed on from our forefathers, those persons like Joseph Brandy and those persons. They are now transferring it to the younger generation. Now, recently, in my area right here in Gingerland, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, coming to office, he would have erected a center in honor of the late David Freeman. The center has been named after David Freeman, the David Freeman Center of Excellence. And so at that center, we are presently teaching youngsters in the community to blow fife. And we are looking to expand the program where we are going to be teaching steel pan. We are going to be also teaching masquerades right here in the Gingerland community at that center, which was named after Nevis's probably foremost folklore musician, Mr. David, the maestro, Wicked Fifer Freeman.
Now, when I play a little bit of string band music, I'm going to ask you a question or two. Now, you can't hear that music and keep still. I mean, it makes you want to move, right?
True.
So I wanted to get from you, what are the instruments in the what you call a string band, and who are some of the top players you can recall over the years? And, you know, tell us some more about it, because we listen to it, but some of us don't know much more than that. We just listen and we love it, but, you know, we can benefit from hearing some more about it.
Okay, so in terms of the string band, there are some percussive instruments. So we have the gyro. We also have the baha, which is a long pipe, a long bamboo pipe. Originally, it was a bamboo pipe that the guys, the player would blow into to give that bass sound. That and if we were to look at the electronic band has in what we call the drum set and the foot drum, which keeps the timing, keeps the players in time. And so the baha represents that. Gives a low bass sound and keeps the rest of the band in time. We also have the triangle, which is a triangle steel, and the player would hit the triangle with another piece of steel. And so those are the three main percussive instruments in the string band. Then we have the quattro, we have the banjo, which is the lead stringed instrument in the string band. We also have the guitars, we have the mandolin. I think I mentioned the quattro already. So those are the stringed instruments of the steel band. And of course, the lead instrument, the fife, that plays the melody of whatever song that the string band is playing. In terms of outstanding, and this is very, very debatable, this is, in my opinion, we had outstanding fifers. For example, David Freeman from Rollins. We had Daniel, another fifer from Rollins. We had Mary Buddy, another fifer from here in Gingerland in Chicken Stone. We had Nehemiah Neal, and he is from, I think, the Fountain area out of Cotton Ground or Barnesgut. We had another fifer by the name of Dad Slybert. And so all of these have been outstanding fifers in their day. I may have missed. Oh, and how can I forget the late, great Thunder Hamilton. He died at an early age, just when he was blossoming into one of the finest fifers that we would have seen here on Nevis. He unfortunately passed away at a very young age. In terms of yes, that's in terms of the fifers. And there have been several good guitar players over the years that would have played in string bands. You have people like Frank Mills. You have people like Miller. You have Eugene Cannon Pemberton from Cox. And these are some of the outstanding guitar players. In terms of quattro players, we have Jimmy Mackwell. He is from Rollins Village right here. And he realized right here in Gingerland, he realized that I'm calling Gingerland name a lot because a lot of the folklore in Nevis was practiced in Gingerland. So you have people like Jimmy Mackerel in Gingerland. In Butlers, we have a fellow by the name of Roy who is very good on the mandolin. And then banjo players, we have people like Orville Paper Injection from right here in Gingerland. We have Ray Busu from Butlers, a very good banjo man. And coming back to 5 players, and I would be getting some licks if I did not mention Seville Sel Taka Handy. Presently resides in Gingerland and one of the better fifers in Nevis. And the reason why I say better fifers because he has perfected the art now of actually reading printed scores and playing music on the fife from printed scores. And he is now training 2 youngsters, Jalani Manners and Chris Hanley. These are 2 young fifers in their 20s that are now perfecting the art of fife playing and are now thinking in terms of training other youngsters to play fife. And so, these are some of the persons from the string band that would have contributed and made their name in terms of playing string band over the years. Would have had outstanding string bands like the Honeybee String Band out of Rollins Village. We now have the Sugar Hill String Band out of Zion Hickman's Butlers. We also had a string band from Banscott. The name is eluding me right now. But we have had some very good merit body string band from right there in Chicken Stone. We have had some real good string bands that will have gone to Carifesta festivals and represented the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis at Carifesta festivals over the years and would have really made St Kitts and Nevis proud at these overseas representations.
Well, thank you very much for that. Did string bands enjoy acceptance in the early days, or was it something that was frowned upon?
Well, just like how in Trinidad, pan players in Trinidad were regarded as quote unquote vagabonds. Here in Nevis, string band music was associated with what we call kwelbe, which our forefathers, our parents never really wanted their children to be singing kwelbe or to be playing kwelbe in the house. And, string band was, they played the popular songs of the day. But with time, that has changed, and we are now seeing string bands playing in our churches, string bands playing at funerals. And this is a very, very popular feature now at just about every funeral in Nevis. The string band plays at the church, at the cemetery. And so string band now is widely accepted in Nevis. In our schools, we have string bands playing. I mean, you cannot have a Culturama festival unless you have a string band playing at some event. There are persons coming from overseas, Nevisians coming back home, visitors. When they come to Culturama, they do not feel that they have had a good Culturama, they have enjoyed a good Culturama unless they hear some string band or they hear some big drum music. So the folk music now is widely accepted here on Nevis.
Yep, that's a similar story. You're quite right in terms of the pan, something once despised becoming a national symbol, something being celebrated nationally and even representing the country abroad as well. Now I'm going to go to the next big one for me, and that is the masquerade. What is the story of the masquerade? How do you organize a masquerade, and how do you get around to getting the costumes and all that?
Well, again, the Nevis Cultural Development Foundation, they are charged with preserving this culture, the folklore of Nevis. And so they go into the schools, they have a weekly program. Well, right now, the program is somewhat curtailed because of the pandemic. But prior to the pandemic, they would go to the schools regularly and teach the art of masquerade dancing. In terms of the costuming, the there were times that I would have gone to Trinidad. Other officers from the Department of Culture would have gone over to Trinidad. We would have purchased peacock feathers in bulk. And when I say in bulk, I mean a couple hundreds, maybe up to 1,000 peacock feathers, 2,000 peacock feathers. Bales of cotton fabric, pretty floral cotton fabric, bells, trimmings that would go at the bottom of the pants and at the end of the sleeve of the shirts. Velvet that you would make a breastplate that goes over the neck, and one piece is extended to the back, another piece at the front. What else? Head ties, bandanas, because when you put on the cap to prevent the cap from falling off, they would tie their head with a bandana, a head tie, and that would kind of keep the cap in place. Mirrors, and that is something that we do not see quite a bit of on the masquerade costumes nowadays, but I do not like to see a masquerade costume unless it is adorned with mirrors and a lot of ribbons, because they add to the color. The ribbon gives the costume color. The bells, you could, when I was a little boy, you could hear a masquerade walking across the road because you hear the bells. As you walk, the bells would ring. The glass, the mirrors, and these are things that we would use. Once you would have made the shirt and the pant, you would adorn the costume with the feathers, the bells, the breastplate, the mirrors, the trimmings on the end at the bottom of the pant, the trimmings at the end of the long sleeve shirt, that sort of thing. And then they have the feathers, the peacock feathers. You cannot have a masquerade troupe without the peacock feathers. And how can I forget the face mask? And then they would carry an instrument in the hand, the tomahawk, that they would dance with. That too, I've not seen a lot of that in masquerade groups in recent times. But the masquerade costume cannot be complete unless you have that. And then there was a whip as well that masquerades of long ago, especially the leader of the masquerade troupe, would use to draw attention to him if he wants to give an order to the dancers. He would crack a whip, and they would know, hey, the master is trying to, or the leader is trying to say something to us. So pay attention to the leader.
So in terms of Nevis then, what's the masquerade story? What got it started? What was it trying to do? What is it trying to say? What does it say about Nevis culture? The colors, the mirrors, the bells, the whips, all that. Well,
we know that going back, a lot of the things that we practice as part of our folklore, as part of our culture, came out of slavery. And so a lot of these dances were a way of communicating. The slaves used the different dances as a way of communicating between themselves when they did not want the masters to understand what message was being communicated. Now, the masquerades of long ago, you would hear them saying all kind of things, and people may feel that is gibberish or whatever they are talking. But the slaves, while they danced, they had certain things that they would say that would be communicated among them, and the slave masters was not able to decode whatever they are saying, but that is their way of communicating without the masters knowing. And so that has continued, and these were the masquerades, after slavery, it continued. Now, there's something interesting with one of the dances, the wild mass, and in the wild mass is the limbo dance. And a lot of persons do not know that the limbo dance while the dancers are limboing in the wild mass, that the knees of the dancers should never touch the ground. And that is a very significant part of the whole history of the masquerades, because by not allowing the knees to touch the ground, it is saying that, well, the slaves then, we are resisting the pressure from the slave masters. Now, if your knees touch the ground, it means that you're succumbing to the pressure of the slave masters. So when you had masquerade dancers like Black and Jokong and Tommy and all those other great masquerade dancers out of Nevis who used to limbo, and the caps, the feathers would go right back and touch the ground, but their knees would never touch the ground. It was a way that the slaves was saying to the slave masters, we are not going to succumb to your pressure. It was showing resistance to the pressures that the slave masters were putting on the masquerade dancers. And so I realized that has somewhat gone out of the masquerade dancing. I see guys now dancing and they're falling to their knees. But, that is a message that I've been trying to get the instructors to instill that in the young masqueraders, that never should they allow their feet to touch the ground when they are doing that limbo dance as part of the wild mass.
Antonio Abernathy, librarian, please stay on the line. We're going to hear from our partners. When we come back, we're going to ask you about the Nevis Bull. If there is a Nevis Bull, how many you have?
Actually, I don't know.
All right. Bull. Well, we'll come back. When we come back, we'll hear about whether the mansion bull has crossed the narrows. We'll be back in just a moment.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
Price matters most.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV, connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD, plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Yes, indeed. You're tuned to WINN FM. It's 90.9. We're on Voices. We're speaking to Mr. Antonio Abernathy, librarian. We're talking about the masquerade in Nevis and about other matters of Nevis culture. It's Black History Month, and we're honoring Mr. Librarian and the work he's done, and of course, picking his brain about some of the backstories that could help us to appreciate and understand what's really happening in terms of cultural developments and some norms and some trends in Nevis and, of course, the Federation and the wider Caribbean. So back with you now, Mr. Librarian. The story of the bull. Why is there not a Nevis bull, just a mansion bull?
Well, Clive, to be honest with you, I really don't know how to answer that question, but in all of my almost 60 years of living, the bull has been a St Kitts tradition. I cannot recall Nevis ever having a bull troop. I may be wrong, but I cannot recall that the bull was a Nevis thing. In Nevis, masquerades, cowboys, giant disappear. Cowboys and Indians, giant disappear. Clowns, the plaiting of the maypole, well, plaiting of the ribbon, It was called Maypole dancing, Red Cross, very different names, a few different names for it, Red Cross, Blue Ribbon, Platinum of the Ribbon, whatever, Maypole dancing, all of them are the same thing. Those have been Sweet Lemon, Nigger Business. Those have been the things that have been foremost on the calendar, on the cultural calendar, or the folklore groups that would have dominated here in Nevis. The bull, I've not heard of any bull troops here on Nevis. I may be wrong, as I said.
All right, to be continued. Now, as we're talking about culture, some people say you can't talk about culture, you don't talk about food, eh? So I want to ask you a little bit about the diet on Nevis, the traditional diet, of course. I have a sense of it, but I'd like to hear from you. And also tell us a bit about what makes you know you're in Nevis. What do you have to do in terms of, what are you consuming in terms of food? And you know, a boy at home now, you know.
Well, you know, Clive, in 1970, we lost a lot of hucksters on the sinking of the Christina disaster. We celebrated the 50th anniversary of that tragedy sometime last year. And the reason why we lost so many Nevisians and primarily hucksters, persons who used to take their stuff to Sinkers to sell, is that Nevis was known as, well, not Nevis, in Nevis, Gingerland, Rollins, because I know I lost some relatives from Rollins, was known as the food basket of Nevis. And Nevis was the capital for ground provisions, for food in St Kitts and Nevis. So a lot of farmers in Nevis used to go to St Kitts to ply their trade, to sell their vegetable crops, to sell their animals. And so once you are in Nevis, there are some things that you must consume if you want to get or you want to experience the authentic Nevisian cuisine. You have things like cassava, breadfruit, sweet potato, bread nut. I actually had some bread nut for my supper last night, and for my breakfast this morning, I actually gave my mother some bread nut on her breakfast plate this morning. So these are some of the things, yam, tanya. These are some of the things that persons on Nevis consumed back then. Unfortunately, a lot of the young people, they are not into the what we call it ground provision. But why do you think I look so good at 60? because my father, my grandmother, my father, although he ran a grocery shop, he was also a farmer, and he grew a lot of the food that we ate back then. My father grew them in his land. I mean, he had several plots in Rollins, in Beach Roads, in Zetlands. Food. And so I grew up on those things. So you come back now to some of the delicacies. You have things like cassava bread, and that is something that is only consumed on Nevis, sadly, at Easter time and maybe at Culturama. You know, you have people selling cassava bread and the famous conky. These are some of the local delicacies that we have here on Nevis, that persons who come to Nevis for vacation, come to Nevis for Culturama, they want to experience some of this breadfruit, roast breadfruit, roast sprat. Fishermen used to go fishing, throw their nets, come back with sprat, wash the sprat off with some seawater, get an old galvanized fish bones, roast the sprat right there, roast the breadfruit, and you have a meal right there. There was no fancy ribs and chicken and corn and the cob and those stuff. I'm sure that you, Clive, coming out of Guyana, would know a lot, because I've been to Guyana, and I was amazed to see that at breakfast one morning at a hotel we were staying, that we were served with for breakfast with it's like a boiled down of yam and breadfruit and tanya and dasheen and those sort of things. And I was shocked. I mean, because
it's the same thing in Dominica as well, you know.
Right.
Dominica has
It's
a
like
similar thing.
Caribbean
Yeah, it is.
You know, and so, you know, to come back now to what you're saying, that these are some of the things that are truly authentic to the Nevisian cuisine.
Tell me a bit about the wines and drinks that you would make as well, from the provisions, from the fruits.
Yes. Sorrel, that is one of the things that traditionally sorrel was only available at Christmas time. But we now see that there are varieties of sorrel that probably be all year round. And so you have sorrel, you have ginger beer, you have marby, which is the bark from a tree. I've not seen a marby tree for a very long time, but I'm sure that they would have some marby trees somewhere around Sarswood Pillar. And there was a gentleman in Fountain, Natas Craps, who probably made the best Sarswood Pillar drink on Nevis. People used to come from all over, even from St Kitts, and go by Mr. Jeffers to get Sarswood Pillar. Over the last couple of years, and I hope that Commissioner Brandy is not listening. Well, even before I get to that part, in terms of the spirits, alcoholic beverages, the local Hammond, I mean, we should not be ashamed of that. The local Hammond, bush rum as we call it, a lot of us young people, our fathers sold bush Hammond, they boiled bush Hammond, they sold it to get income to send us to school. So that is something I think that, you know, the governments of St Kitts and Nevis, just like the marijuana industry, they should legalize the Hammond. They should set up an industry where the alcoholic content can be measured and be consistent, and market that and sell it, because nowhere else to go. You cannot get bush rum as tasty as that brewed in Nevis. And then what I've realized now is that the youngsters, those guys are using the Hammond and mixing it with some herb, marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
So you could get some green formula, they call it, or they're now telling me that you could get lemon formula, that is lemongrass formula, lemongrass soaked in Hammond, sorrel soaked in Hammond, so you get the red sorrel, you get the marijuana soaked in Hammond, that's the green Hammond formula. And I find that is, you know, it is taking off here on Nevis, and that is an industry that I think, especially now with the legalization of the marijuana for medicinal purposes, we need to now look at legalizing the Hammond. I hope Commissioner Brandy is listening. Legalize the Hammond and utilizing the Hammond to, with the marijuana, and have formula legalized and become one of the staples in the bars and the rum shops in St Kitts and Nevis.
Did you make wines as well?
Yes, all of the local fruits. Golden apple.
Oh yes.
Sugar cane.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
Sugar cane, star apple.
Oh man.
All of those. And there's a gentleman here in Nevis, I can't recall his name. I think he's from the Prospects area. I think he would have passed. But he had a wine industry where he made wines from all different type of fruits here on Nevis, and has done well in terms of that local winemaking industry that he developed.
Ice creams,
yes, and it takes me back to my boyhood days when you attended a fair or a function. You used to have, I think that the instrument was called an ice cream churner. where
like an ice cream can, and you had a wheel or something. Or
right, you had a barrel like a wooden barrel, and you had to get what? You had to go to
you had to put
salt
ice. And ice,
and pick some salt. And put it between the iron case and the wooden barrel, and you would spin it, and so we have been in the practice of making ice cream here in Nevis from since.
So you had
probably built the ark.
You had soursop ice cream as well.
Hello, soursop ice cream.
Soursop ice cream.
Whatever fruit. Now you have a family, Ambrosine Lake. I know her name, but her family has now commercialized the making of local ice cream here in Nevis. Very, very tasty. Very, very, very tasty. Speaking of that, there's something else. The Indian Castle Fisher folk, they are now making sea moss drink and adding all sorts of other things too. So you could get linseed oil, I think, in your sea moss. You could get coconut in your sea moss, different flavors. And so, the industry is growing, and the agro-processing unit here on Nevis is a part of the Department of Agriculture. They are now trying to get the local farmers to produce lots of different things using the different fruits, the soursop, the guavas, the golden apples, whatever, and getting that local agro-processing industry up and running here on Nevis.
We're out of time, my brother. Time goes by very quickly when I'm talking to you. I want to thank you very much.
We're having fun.
It's a win-win situation. But I want to thank you very much for talking to us this afternoon, and I want to congratulate you personally on behalf of WINN FM as well for all the hard work you've done. You shared with us so much information. I'm just so many ideas are running through my head as we speak. And I want to continue this because we have not yet even talked about the music as yet. So when time permits, we're going to meet again, and we're going to have part 2 of this conversation. But once again, congratulations for the hard work you've done. Keep it up, and all the best to you and your family, and of course the team at the Culturama Secretariat. All the best indeed.
Yeah, Clive, I want to thank you and to thank WINN FM for reaching out to me this Black History Month. As I said earlier, I'm almost at the end of the tunnel right now. My candle is almost out. I just have probably another year and a couple of months, and then I'm gone. And so whatever little contribution, whatever I can make between now and then, I'll be happy to give you any information or make any contribution towards that.
Thank you very much, my brother. All the best to you. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye. And that's the program for today. We're speaking to Mr. Antonio Abernathy Librard, Executive Director of the Nevis Culturama Secretariat. He's been a Calypsonian. He's as Abo's Digital Factory. He's been involved in agriculture. He was a member of the Nevis Sixth Form, studied agriculture, and of course went to the Gingerland High School, secondary school, and of course Gingerland Primary School, named after a relative as well. I will salute Mr. Antonio Abernathy Librard. All the best to you, sir. You're a champion. Keep it up.
For an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers are making lawn and garden easy. Come to Horseroads Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on our entire lawn and garden department. Yes! For the months of February and March, Horseroads Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy with 25% off all garden supplies, garden equipment, garden accessories, including weed eaters, lawnmowers, and much more. Get 25% off all lawn and garden items.